So yeah, we've been doing that for about 3 years now, and this is the year where we're like, okay, we've tested enough hypotheses, the market is mature enough, we can actually launch something and see where it goes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I always end up doing this is I always like, what's your backstory? Like, how did you get to here? So then I can kind of catch up with you.
Yeah. Specifically for which part?
Whatever you want to start.
Well, okay. Thinking about what we're gonna end up talking
Well,
about.
like what do you like doing? You decided to talk about that, right? So that's really important. I know you want to stay in the space, right?
So
and you got Bitcoin,
right?
And so, in cryptocurrency, that's like, all of that. How did you transition into? How did you get into that?
Okay, that's good. Yeah. So initially, I was mostly interested in just like business, finance, and startups. On the finance side, stocks and trading, that was very interesting to me. Did a lot of that in college. Did some of that. Started in high school when they do the program here in Texas where you play the stock market.
Okay.
So did that, and I was like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. Wrote prospectus, like did all the paperwork for it. And I was like, I think I could do this for real, and so started doing it in college. Because TD Ameritrade and E-Trade, you can set up accounts.
Were you more from the analytics side, so you were writing programs to help you realize
this was straight up like picking, like watching trends, looking at earnings reports. Just your standard vanilla trading.
Right.
So did that through college, but kind of did it passively. And when I left, right after I left, was Bitcoin. I think when it first launched was in 2009, and I was out and hadn't really paid attention to anything in the computer science space. My roommate had 2 more years left.
What did you do in college?
Broadcast and journalism.
That's right.
But my roommate had 2 more years on his CS degree, and so he was introduced to it first and thought about it as being just kind of, this interesting code experiment that's out there that hackers are using. He graduated, and when he called me after graduation, because he got a job downtown, he was like, hey, can I crash on your couch? Crashed on my couch, we started talking about it, and he told me, hey, there's this thing out there that's called Bitcoin, and it basically kind of functions the same way that in-game currency works for video games, and you can buy stuff with it. And I was like, well, what do you mean buy stuff? Because I've also played video games and sold profiles. So I was like, okay, I get the idea of fake money that can be sold for real stuff, but like, exactly what do you mean you can buy stuff? And he was like, I was like in a specific like marketplace, or you mean just like anything? He was like, anything. And Silk Road was up at the time. So he was like, there's this marketplace where you can buy all this stuff. And I was like, that's interesting. So someone values it. It doesn't really matter that it's code to them. And there's enough people out there. I was like, well, how do we get into it? And he was like, well, you can buy it or you can mine it.
You said in-game fake money? What'd you say?
In-game currency.
You know what? It never occurred to me. That's a great way to understand what Bitcoin is. When you said that, I was like, yeah, it's an in-game currency where the game is the world. Life.
Yeah. Which is funny because a lot of people.
That's how it happened. Okay, go ahead.
Initially, there's probably some loftier goals with it, but a lot of people that initially adopted it were Second Life people.
Right.
Because in Second Life, they have their own in-game currency, which you buy with your debit card, and you trade for stuff in-game, and you can cash it out. So that kind of but that's all locked to that central aspect, whereas for Bitcoin, there is no central governing body.
Right. Yes. So to create a Bitcoin, I do understand there's something called mining of it, right?
Right.
And so that's to take it to the physical world. That's a person with a pick and an axe that's looking for a nugget of gold.
So yes and no.
Okay.
I just explained this to someone, so this is.
Well, I want to do the high level here because I definitely want to get into this really.
So it's super high level, but basically, everyone that wants to send any type of value or messages because you can send those in Bitcoin either, they basically broadcast, hey, this is what I want to send. The algorithm selects a group of those, and it tells the miners, we need you to validate that these exist. And the ways to validate it is you're running a hash-based equation and that only has one solvable answer. And so the computers, the miners, they go and they make attempts on that hash-based equation until they get the right one. And so they have to do so many thousands per second to find the right one. And so the average time it takes to find that equation is called the block time. And what it basically is, the algorithm will give the equation, and it says, if you solve this equation, you get this amount of Bitcoin. So the miner is trying to solve the equation to get the Bitcoin, but then once it gets the Bitcoin, the algorithm forces them to take those transactions that everyone wants to send and lock them inside of the equation that they just solved and then recode it.
Okay.
And that is what makes up the chain that is attached to that.
Which is called blockchain.
Which is called blockchain, yeah. And so the miners are racing to solve the equations because that's the only way they can get Bitcoin. The algorithm is handing it out, but that's the only way they can get it is to do that equation solving. So it incentivizes the network to function.
Wow. I'm definitely going to have to hear that 5 times. But keep on going.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways.
So anyway, we got into that, and it was because from the trading side, I understood there was a market for it and people were going to trade it. And some of the early markets were just really basic, like charts and dollar pegs and that kind of stuff, where you could just trade USD versus Bitcoin or anything else. So I was like, that's interesting, but that means that you have to buy in at whatever Bitcoin's value is, and then you have to try to make some type of upside. This was 2013, so it wasn't really a thing where you could count on. It's not like you could say, oh, Bitcoin is going to be around, it's going to be around forever, so therefore I should put money into this to see if I make my upside. So for me, it was much less riskier to go with the mining side because it was, you buy a computer, you turn the computer on, it does its thing, it makes its ROI, and then you keep on doing it. And so we calculated how much it cost to run one, and it was about $1 per day, and we're like, okay, so basically we should do this because the cost of entry is a lot lower. And so we started. That was our first Bitcoin farm, which we ran out of our apartment.
When you say farm, you mean?
Like series of machines.
How many machines did you have?
We had 14.
Damn.
But our initial investment was about $700.
Total? For 14 servers?
No. We bought the first one for $200.
Got it.
Mined with it. Bought another, there was a technology upgrade that happened pretty quickly, and so it devalued a bunch of them, but we calculated how much they make. I was like, okay, cool, they're $100 a piece. I bought 7 of them. Then from then on, we bought everything else with Bitcoin.
Got it. So you were out 700 of
my money.
Right.
And then we paid rent for a year and a half.
On?
For the apartment.
Well, you were living in there anyways?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it made sense for us, yeah. So that was about 36,000 over
What's
the year and a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, keep on going.
Then the market fell off a cliff, and we were like, oh, okay, it's not super profitable to do this anymore, so we shut it down.
And that's 2013 through 2016?
No, 2013 through beginning of 2015.
Okay.
So then we just kind of like let it lay dormant for a while and didn't really pay any attention to it until my roommate again was poking around some forums and someone had launched a thing called Ethereum.
Ethereum, yeah, I heard about that one.
Yeah. So the difference between the two is Bitcoin miners are the most powerful ones are called ASICs, application-specific circuit integrated circuits, and they are hard-coded to only do one thing.
Got it.
Ethereum is a GPU-based algorithm, so it mines off video cards, which we had always planned into getting into, but had kind of not paid attention. But the reason for that is because those can be currency agnostic. You can mine anything with them as long as you download the software and install it.
And they're using the GPU because it's just so much more powerful?
It's the most powerful general purpose computing unit that you can get.
That's right.
So we did the whole entire basic process again, which is how much can you make, do your calculations, figure out your power costs, how much equipment you need, what software is available, download, test. So we did that with one video card and basically looked at it and said, okay, I think if we scale this out, this will be fine. And we had incorporated the LLC that we're using like in between the Bitcoin farm and this, because we were going to use it for an e-commerce play. And so we weren't really using it. We're like, okay, well, we have this LLC, might as well go and apply for a credit line. We're like, let's start with something small. So we just went for a business credit card that was like $5,000. So the first video card we bought, which is about $250. Then with the business credit card, we bought 14 cards and the equipment to run basically like 3 or 4 miners. And so we had those going for the 6 or 7 months and paid off the credit card. So the second farm, initial investment, $250, $5,000 worth of credit, paid off the $5,000 worth of credit. And then we're like, okay, how do we expand this out? Because we had maxed out our apartment as far as power and everything
Right.
else.
I was about to get to that one.
Yeah, my power bill is about 4 to 5 kilowatts every month.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You got to be careful when you get in a partnership. This is going to tell you a past story and how this relates to this one, right? So my brother and I had started computer repair and networking in our later high school or beginning college days. So
Yeah.
my brother's 2 years younger than me, so somewhere overlapping, you know, between
Senior and freshman. And,
yeah, something like that, right? So I'm in college and he's in high school or something. So we were doing computer repair and also setting up wireless networks. This is like 98, 99, 2000, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
So we were getting paid to go in and put in wireless cards in computers, right?
Set up routers.
Set up router. In some places, drop the lines in the walls. And
Right.
really, my brother ended up doing a lot of it. Because then in 2001, I graduated, got my engineering job. My brother was still doing this stuff, and that's
Right.
what he was doing. So all of a sudden, someone approaches us, and he says, "Hey, I see what you guys are doing. You guys are doing really well. I want to join you guys. I got time, and I want to be a partner."
Right.
So my brother was in school, I was in school, or had just left, and I was now at Bell, and this opportunity comes up. So then there was a need. We
Right.
needed somebody that had the ability to put all the time in to continue to help develop this business. My brother was in school. Again, I was out. So keep on circling back to what the need was. The need was time.
Right, because your times was divided.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sounded like a good offer. It sounded like a good thing to begin with. So we went forward, and the business completely crashed.
Right.
Like, we took a profitable business, and this dude ran it into the ground within 3 to 4 months. From like, hey, we need to have an office space. It's like, we don't have enough. We don't have that much business.
Yeah. Why do we?
We're not bursting at the seams. So when I got a little Regis place,
Okay. Yeah.
all this kind of stuff, an executive suite.
Built up the burn rate as high as it could possibly go.
Yeah, we got all fancy, right, without having the support to get there. And this individual was never performing.
Gotcha.
Right? So the importance of setting up a partnership with the necessity, with necessities that are probably never going to change on either side is so important. So let's say if you get into a 50-50 deal and your only expectation from the other person is access to a room and an admin, then what happens when this business is generating so much money that your portion can go build you the room and hire you an admin?
Right.
Then you're looking at the other person like, I'm paying 50% of every coin that comes through here to those individuals. I don't need them anymore.
Right.
It's really where you would have got for it's like, assuming this thing was exactly perfect and was running exactly
smoothly. Yeah.
smooth. I think in a while you would have turned around like, man, what the hell was this? Was a bad deal. We should not have got into this deal. Go ahead.
Scary. I know about that.
Which is, the whole perspective. We were like, all right, let's sit down and look at this future. Does any of the personality aspects, operational aspects, the methodology for doing business on their end look like it's going to change in the future? Nah.
No,
Yeah.
it's not.
So.
No. So they're welcome to invest 50 grand or whatever it needs for you to run the computers, and for that they get X percentage. Right, of all sales going forward. And that percentage better be less than 50%. Otherwise, for you, you're going to be upset about it in the future.
Right, because you're giving away so much of
You give away so much now, and then in the future, you're like, why do you need them? I literally did not need them. You could have turned around and tracked your same point in time, and you would have been like, look, if we could have just waited a little bit longer, we would have been in the position to do this by ourselves, or we would have taken a loan out, or whatever needed to happen to accomplish that without giving away all of this. Now, you give away 25%, 30% for the money guy, that makes sense. So if you think back at the way startups are,
standardly structured,
you get the VC that shows up or whatever, and I'm just guessing. I haven't closed
Yeah.
my own big round like this, but they're not wanting to take 60%, 80%, even though they're putting $1 million or $2 million down, because they're like, that's too much. At some point,
That's controlling at that point.
it's not even
Yeah.
just that it's controlling. Where's the incentive for the entrepreneur,
True.
right? So take 30%. Here's the money. We'll help you on a phone call or whatever, but it's your business. You guys run it.
Right.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And that's where they come up with those valuations. They really figure out how much do you need, and then they figure out, okay, so you need $1 million. I don't want to own more than 30 of it. So okay, what's this, a $3 million valuation,
Right.
or whatever. That's
Right.
what they make up that number anyways, right?
Yeah.
So that whole thing from the beginning, this thing would have failed anyways. The way you went into this deal without very, very specific, right? The other individual had to have presented to you a compelling business case from their end for them to be worth 50%.
Right. Aside from, yeah.
I mean, it seems like you're going to be doing all the work. This is what I hear. You're going to be doing all the work, maintenance, the scripting, all the knowledge base you're bringing in. These guys were going to bring in some money.
Right. And a little
And-
bit of time for admin.
Right. And no value add going forward in this particular business.
Right.
What could they have done 6 months from now in a successful joint venture that would have made this entertaining for you? Like, could they have been able to say, at this milestone, we'll be able to make these phone calls for the company? What would you have been doing here? I mean, this is isn't this a very commodity type thing? Like, it's a very mechanical thing here. It's like, get the machine rolling,
Yeah.
make money, put more money into the machine.
So there was a relationship side
Okay.
to that, which was an access to capital aspect for like non-tapped capital, like non-startup, non-VC capital.
How do you know that for a fact?
I did my research and verified the relationships.
Okay.
But so that's what comes back to our final decision. Based on the current operations trying to work together for the last couple of months, that's all useless because we would still be saddled with a badly operating business partner. So, like, that's the bottleneck. It's like you can find money anywhere. Finding money isn't the problem, but it was like, okay, if you're going to bring that as the value add, okay, cool, you're going to go find investors. But then now having worked with you finding investors mean I get more of that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I hope you find investors if I can get 50% of your Bitcoin. Then yeah, sure, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what
Well, that and, that's the other thing. So as we've been thinking about this for the last couple of weeks and figuring out how we're going to structure moving on from here, it was like, okay, what could we offer that would be attractive just from a money standpoint? And so we did a little bit of tracking as far as like possible returns and stuff. Like, you do your minimum, you do your maximum. And in all scenarios, you can return 20% to an investor.
Yeah, see, now you're...
So we're like, okay, cool. If we can return 20% to an investor, then we can literally tell someone all you need to do is give us money and trust that we can get it back to you.
So that's a guaranteed return on 20%? That's
Yeah.
essentially what you're saying. You have a 20% interest rate
Right.
almost in a sense?
Right.
Yeah.
Which is, that beats all markets.
Yeah, significantly. So as far as like your
So,
your question, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, so part of my thinking and like the sounding board part is what I feel like I'm hearing is develop the use case for why us as a team, me and my roommate as a team, are invaluable, and always operate from the aspect of control and strength, and the investor coming in only to add the financial aspect to get there,
Well, I would have said the investor would only come in to add the financial aspect.
But their
from
incentive.
Your perspective is, we know how to do this.
Right.
So we need everything we don't know how to do right now or don't have access to.
Right.
Right? And all of that needs to be something. I'm willing to listen to all of that.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So money or access to equipment at a discount, or I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Because all of those things that if you don't have access to, that's something that you're interested to hear.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, you have to present, like, on my relationship with Mess, I don't know. She's like, in your sense, like the Bitcoin operator. She knows the programming. She knows how to interact with children. She developed all of that. And
Right.
there was never a moment that we were trying to figure out that part. It's like, yep, that's what you know.
Right.
Right.
Dude, thank you.
You're welcome, man. Cool stuff.
Yeah.
But I do want to have you for real to do a thing about Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah. That's, yeah.
Like, Nikki and I have no idea what the hell that is. Just the other day, I was like, I think I should just give up and say, yes, I need to buy Bitcoin or invest in it or whatever.
I would say that would be a good call to make.
Yeah, but I was just like, but the whole time, like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to know all the details about it. I just need to be pointed in the direction, like, just do that. Like, take an example that I do understand. I don't know what indexes are.
Right,
Gives a
right.
fuck, man. Just go there and buy that index fund and this index fund, okay? You don't need to know how they're made up.
Right.
What happens inside of them? Just go buy those 4. Okay, fine. I'm just gonna go fucking buy those 4, right?
I have some scenario profiles that you'd be really, really interested in seeing.
What does that mean?
So they don't have index funds for cryptos yet, but you can build them yourself.
I thought there was.
There was one that got rejected. So let me
Okay,
say,
got it.
no official standing ones. Like there's
Got
no
it.
company you can go to and say, okay, cool, give me this. People are working on it. Most of it's non-sanctioned, so who knows how long that's going to last. But you can build your own. And so I have like 4 or 5 different ones that are, like one track's like top 20 by market cap, the other one's like second tier down is 2040, and there's like 4060 and like 40. 3 of them are up by like 300% in the last 2 months.
Sign me up, motherfucker.
Like it's
Yeah.
it's like throwing darts at a board right now.
It's at 1,700. What is it at today?
Well, so it
conversion
was
to dollar?
1865 was the price when I looked at it 2 hours ago.
1865. So
Yeah.
it went up like 165 bucks in the last like 3 days.
1% on Bitcoin is about $200.
Jesus Christ, dude.
But there are 75 other pairs to
What?
play with.
I don't understand what that means.
So there's Bitcoin and Ethereum. There's 75 other versions of that.
Right. I did hear like, well, what's Bitcoin's market cap right now?
Bitcoin's market cap is about 25 billion, but the whole entire
Right.
space is about 57 billion.
And 57 billion. So the other 23 billion or whatever is held in.
Oh no, the other 175 currencies
Right.
make up the other 27 billion.
So why have other currencies?
Different use cases. So it's a currency and a technological solution. And so basically, if you think about it as programming languages or apps, you can build almost anything you can imagine because it's all code.
You're about to geek the fuck out, dude. I can tell. You're like super excited.
I mean, it's like, it still doesn't make sense to me. And this has been like 3 or 4 years looking at it, but it's the only thing that basically functions in 3 states at once. So it's a currency, a value store, a cryptographic
Currency.
science.
A value store is currency, right?
Well, not so like gold would be a value store, but doesn't make a good currency because I can't just instantly send you gold.
Well, now in 2017, but
2017 I can't, but
20
yeah, but
years
going
ago,
back,
it was great.
yeah.
It was a great currency. Go ahead.
But even let's say that I sell you gold, there's a legal contract that has to enforce that. But if I send you Bitcoin, as soon as I send it to you, the code enforces it. I can't double spend that. I can't charge it back.
So what do I need to do right now?
So the easiest entrant right now to get into it is Coinbase.
Okay, so I've heard there is keys that are kept in the outside entity, keys kept on your computer,
Right.
or keys kept on a piece of hardware,
Right.
right?
So I'm going to show you one of those right now.
And I heard, yeah, so whatever. To me, okay, here's where, which I'll ask you later, again, I guess, as we go through this. But it's in digital space. So I understand if the world's blasted with an EMP from the
Oh yeah,
sun.
it's all gone.
It's all gone anyways, right?
Yeah.
Like my Chase Bank account. And it was at that moment I was like, this is all fucking numbers too. Right? I was like, it's just numbers.
It's just numbers.
It's just numbers, right?
Like, I mean, how overextended...
So there's a rule that says you can go get paper out of, paper to represent these numbers, but it's
Right.
based on the internet still being in existence. So if this,
And if the internet goes down, we can go back to the books and say, okay, well, technically, based on this book, you have it, but then we like reduce all of our speed and we go back to, Medici.
all right, okay, so there's that. So it's like, it's numbers anyway, so why not, right? You guys are, apparently people believe in this thing.
Right.
What's keeping,
That phrase right there is exactly what I said in 2013. I was like, well, apparently people believe in this, so I might as well try it. Yeah.
and so the other part of that is what about, what's the term here?
51% tax.
The 51% tax?
If you basically, what keeps someone from gaining control of the whole entire network, cornering the market, and making their own rules?
I didn't even know about that one, but that's really smart. But the other part of that is like, well, yeah, my other part was like, yeah, what if the NSA is like, yeah, I own Bitcoin now. Fuck all you guys.
Well,
Or some hacker or...
So the only way that could happen is...
And then I thought about it and I was like, these fucking nerd dudes would have already known about that, figured it out, and said, it could not happen. So is there any vulnerability like that?
Well, no, not like that. But there are vulnerabilities, but so it spreads the attack surface out so far that the cost of attacking the network grows exponentially as you do the attack. Does that make sense? Okay, so the government's been trying to stamp out torrenting and file sharing for how long? Forever. It uses that same exact peer-to-peer distributed principle. But the algorithm does a calculation where it looks at all of the computers currently using the network to process. And the difficulty of validating the transactions, as I talked about earlier, grows based on the number of computers that are currently trying to use it. So it's like if someone said, I'm going to give you a 4-digit number to solve, and I want you to guess all the combinations, right? But if Robert over there starts to decide that he wants to also try to solve this, I'm now going to add 4 more digits. And then 4 more digits, and 4 more digits, and keep on going. As many people are trying to solve this, that's how many digits we keep adding.
Okay.
And it changes your number.
Right, of course.
Because it's not like, well, cool, I just have 4 digits to work on. I'm going to work on my 4 digits until I get it. It's like, no, now you have to deal with the rest of them as they come. So that means for someone trying to, and so the 51% attack is if someone gets 51% of the mining power on the network, they can then write their own validations. But if they do that, it instantly goes to 0. The value will go to 0 because everyone's watching the amount of mining that's on the network because the whole entire thing is public and auditable. And so as soon as they see someone getting close to 50, they basically disperse or they'll just leave. And then there's no fake.
When you say they leave, you mean you basically tell your computer, hey, you're not on the
Yeah, you just turn the
network
computers
anymore.
off. Yeah. Turn the computers off, delete software, it's worthless, no one cares.
Oh, did you just say that you have a tripped-in suicide attack on all your machines?
No.
Is that what you just
I'm
said?
saying that's what people would do. Someone would be like, for like maybe if someone did.
So what percentage is it at now?
The biggest pool that's out there, mining pool that's out there, is a pool that I think has 21% of the network.
Damn.
Which is 23 petahash worth of computational power.
So how many computers do you think that equates out to?
Let's see. Probably somewhere in the realm of 45 to 56,000.
And they
in
were
China.
Yeah, I've heard about these like buildings that are like water cooled and floors of shit, right?
Yeah.
And so the reason that you can still make money is that while they own 21%, there's still the other 79% of equations or calculations that need to be done that they're not doing.
Right, but also they're on a network that I'm not using. So every single one of the coins and tokens has its own network. So Bitcoin is one. And then there's a bunch of other ones out there. Yeah. So it's like
Dude, who the fuck?
It's like if Spotify is one music network.
What are you laughing at?
And you're like, oh.
Oh God, mess.
It's like if Spotify's out there and you're like, okay, I want to control all the rights to what Spotify owns, right? But then BMI is out there and they say, well, we have this other catalog. You're like, well, I want all the music.
Yeah,
well,
but because you're not doing Bitcoin right now. You're doing Ethereum.
Doing Ethereum, yeah.
Ethereum, that's right.
So yeah, that's a whole different network.
Yeah, but I've heard of that's an interesting one.
Yeah,
I heard about that one too.
And that one, I
just read about that 2 nights ago.
Yeah, and the use case for it is that it's infinitely extensible. Like you can build things on top of it. You can't really build much on top of Bitcoin because it's only 10 opcodes. Like,
what does that mean? Opcodes?
So for a programming language, everything everything in Bitcoin is bytecode, but then the opcodes control that, and they only built 10 of them into the program, and you have to get 95% consensus from all of the different nodes running to change the code.
So let's say they want to do that. Let's say you want to make a change. Let's just hypothetically walk that scenario.
Actually, that's happening right now.
Okay, so what happens? A little message pops up on your computer?
Someone puts out what's called a Bitcoin improvement proposal which, on GitHub, and they say, we would like to make this change to the code. And everyone that wants to do that has to download that and
Right.
signal that that's what they're going to use.
Right.
But if you got to get 95% of
Sure.
all the computers on the network too,
Sure. Good luck.
and that's currently literally the problem they're having right now.
Got it. That's fantastic.
It's pretty much obfuscated at this, like ossified at this point. It's never. If it changes sometime in the future, it's going to be because of the last 2 years worth of like infighting and teeth gnashing and stuff that's happened. While Ethereum's just kind of taken off, because Ethereum's only 2 years old.
Right.
And a lot of people, when this whole debate started, people were like, well, Bitcoin's the only thing around. Of course, we're going to eventually figure this out. And then everyone's like, you know what? We can go make our own. And so they did.
Fantastic. So Coinbase allows you to purchase different ones.
Yeah, they have like 3 main pairs. So you can buy Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum on Coinbase.
What's the other one? Light?
Litecoin?
L-I-G-H-T?
LIT.
Okay, L-I-T. Light code.
Yeah.
Litecoin. Got it.
And
that's its own fucking same shit?
own thing. It was actually the very first clone of
So
Bitcoin.
let's say you decided you want to do your own cryptocurrency, hypothetically, and you say, okay, I did it. And you set up all the rules on it. And then what happens? You have to convince me that I want to do the same thing?
I have to convince you that it's valuable and that you want to run the software.
So you run your software, and then I think, man, that's valuable.
So then you decide you want to run the
So I
software.
run my software.
And you start mining and getting your coins.
Right.
And then we try to find an exchange to pick it up
An exchange picks it up, and someone says, I'm converting United States dollar bills
into this.
for your
Yeah.
Ape coins. Hey, we should have our own coin, cryptocurrency coin. Mess?
They're actually, there's a term for them. They're called shit coins.
Shit coins?
That's awesome.
Even better.
There's actually a literal shit coin, but
I'm so excited right now.
yeah, no, I mean, like, there's people. It's all forking code, so like you can just download basic code and make some changes to the rules and
We should have our
run
own
off and do it.
We should have our own coin. We'll just pay each other in our own shit coins.
Actually code well just to manage that. That would be
How many?
shit coin situation.
What do we call it? Shit coin, or what would we call it?
You can go. I mean, messy coin would work.
Mess coin.
Yeah, there is a troll coin out there. There are people coins this year.
I think it would be Abe Coin and Mess Labs. I mean, we did name you for
could
the
do
labs.
Meth Lab. All right, so you want your mind to be blown? There's a thing.
I'm already the whole time. I am hurting so bad over here, dude. Yeah, I need to water cool this brain right now.
There's
Like
a
this.
thing called an ICO.
Okay, we're gonna do our ICO, dude. What is this?
So they make their own coin, and they tell people.
The Mess and Abe ICO.
Taking notes.
So they write a white paper. They do their own coin. They say our coin
Step
is going
one.
to provide this use case. A good one to pull out of the air is like our coin provides private transactions that are totally anonymous or something like that. And then they put it out on the internet and tell people we're going to offer this starting this date from here to here. And so what they tell people to do is to take another crypto, send it to them, then they'll issue coins that way. Kind of is just like the initial public offering. The last one that happened yesterday raised $25 million in 18 hours.
But their use case is so good that people are like,
No, their use case is terrible.
so how did they
70
raise the money?
People believe in it. 73 of these things have happened this year. Only about 20 of them have been worth anything.
And the other 50 of them made $0 or whatever?
No, the other 50 of them made millions of dollars. Like between 13, the lowest one I think was 13 million, and then there's been like 40
Does this
and
make
50
any sense to you,
million.
Miss?
It doesn't make any sense at all. That's
Oh, okay. It doesn't make sense to him either. So we're good.
yeah.
We're good.
That's what, like when people talk about the stock market's volatility doesn't make sense. I'm like, you have no idea what the hell is going on over here in this corner of the internet.
I'm just stuck on that, the fact I can have an Abe coin. That's all I heard.
Yeah, there's a
We need to have
developer.
an Abe coin.
There's a developer that recently releases a coin a week. They go nowhere, but he just keeps on putting them out there. And every once in a while, he'll get some new country where someone's just learned about Bitcoin, is telling all their friends, they'll be like, "Oh, hey, there's this cool thing over here." It has 0 specs, and people are just like, "I'll."
I feel like we need to like
brand.
brand. We need to brand these. We should have like sell off the Nike coin or something, or like the Mexican coin, and then the Mexican people will be excited about it.
I think there is a Mexican one. No, but there's like a DigiPeso or something.
See?
But like the people coin
That's
thing
in free
started
fall.
with Trump, and so someone made Trump coin, and then someone else made Putin coin, and their whole goal is to try to get Trump to recognize it.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so the other half of my days when I'm not doing coffee, I spend time telling people about this.
You still should go with my fuck yes coffee idea. It's a genius idea. I told you.
Oh, yeah.
He used to run a coffee shop, like own a shop.
Across the street. Yeah.
Cool.
You used to own the Urban Blend? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, that was it.
That's right. And you sold Urban Blend?
Urban Blend, the one that's at the church.
The one right there up by
Interesting.
the dart?
So why don't you own it now?
He sold it.
We had operational issues. That was one I came in on. So my co-founder, he originally did it for about a year. And so I had just helped open another shop, and he was like, well, I need a partner, but equity stake is pretty much what I can offer. And I was like, okay, I can bring that to the table. So I did development for them for a year, also pulled shots and did all the other stuff. And then he had some family issues, and so really couldn't put any more time into the business. And so then the church decided they want to go a different direction. And I was like, that's not really what I want to do. They're like, well, what if you just run it for us and we don't have to actually buy it? And I was like, that's bad business. You should make an offer.
Yeah.
And so they did.
Huh.
When I first started seriously coding was when I was 14. But previous to that, so I've had computers in my life since I was 4. And the first thing that I had was an i386 that had DOS 6.0.
Why did you have that? Did your parents have some kind of job?
My dad worked at a hospital, and he just bought 2 home, and he was like, Steven reads everything, here's the manual.
Yeah.
And so then I started playing with it, and 6 weeks later he was like, wait, you actually know how to use this? I was like, yeah, all you do is C /. Yeah, so
wow.
off to the races. I actually like hardware more than I like code. So basically always had computers around. He also did freelance 3D graphic design around 94, 95. So the things that when Pixar launched and everyone's like, oh my God, a 3D movie. I was like, oh, that looks like what Dad does. So basically I never had enough power for what I wanted to do. And so I created a multi-core stack to run that by chaining motherboards together. And so just that's always been my life. Initially, what got me into the idea of actually looking at the code that went into it was actually Lego Mindstorms.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Dad bought one of those, and they had, they're very simple, block-based programming language. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And so then from that to Java to Visual Basic and everything else, it just kind of went off. Well, so for me, the information came out of the library. And for the most part, it's because I really, really like to read. When I was a kid, it was way more of an obsession than it is now. But I read about 300 or so pages every 2 hours. So
what the fuck did you say? You read 300 pages every hour?
No, every 2 hours. So it's 150 an hour.
Did he teach you speed reading, or you just are a fast reader?
Always been reading since I was
I read 300 pages a week if I sit down with a book.
Oh yeah, no,
straight.
You give me
I read that freaking slow, man. It's ridiculous.
You give me a 350-page novel or something, and I'll read it in between doing stuff, and I'll be done in 2 days.
Incredible.
So yeah, so the library for me, I had free time. So I would go and read through the kids section. Those are too short.
Yeah.
Get over into the adult section. Some of that stuff's not interesting. Oh look, there's science stuff. Go into the science thing. Computer science is kind of just a page off of that. So there was how to code in Visual Basics, 4.0. And so I read through that. And what was the other one? WYSIWYG editors and all of those things. I would just devour those books. And most of the time, they were trying to teach people at a simpler level than what I was understanding it at, because I didn't realize it was unnatural to just have grown up with it. So I would just blow through them and be like, yeah, that's just like this thing over here. And I mean, I played with game design engines and, modeling like TrueSpace and Bryce and Maya when it came out. All of that stuff was just my life, which, funny enough, was not helpful in school.
Oh, yeah.
Because
that's the point, right?
All of my teachers hated that, and they were like, why can't you just learn this way of doing algebra? And I was like, because you're not doing the whole thing. Algebra is only one half of what trig and calculus is supposed to be, and you're telling me, do all of this busy work when I know the answer is this, it's going to make a circle.
Yes.
Can you get out of my way? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would read in math class and get sent to detention.
Were you in public schools?
Private.
Private school. Like a Christian school? Or, okay.
And it was, it was not fun, because the only fun was they did give you in-school suspension, but they gave you all your homework as soon as you got sent. So I tried to get suspended by first period so I could get my homework done by lunch and then read the rest of the time. He basically noticed that I was playing Game Boy all the time, and he was like, he tried to trick me with a question. I'd be like, yeah, there's that. Basically by the second week of school, I had already read the textbook because it was government history. I was like, oh, that's cool. Let's learn about all this stuff. And so basically he just told me at one point, he was like, all right, as long as you maintain an A, you can read, you can do whatever you want.
And I think a lot of teachers I went through the same thing.
Yeah. All of my electives in college were like really, really super advanced history because I knew most of it already. So I would take like History 3 or like World War II, like economic theory or something like that. And
So why did you go to broadcast and journalism as your major?
Because it was the thing I didn't know. See, I thought college was you go to college to learn new things, not you go to college to get a piece of paper so that you can go work in the thing that you already know.
You're so smart, man. You're almost so smart.
Like, yeah, that's such
He's almost wicked brilliant.
Yeah.
But then he says things like,
Yeah.
I didn't know about anything about it, so I went and got a degree in it.
That does make a lot
I'll
of
just fucking with you,
sense.
dude.
No,
Oh, I
like,
should go to school and learn a thing I don't already know, not I should.
and we were,
But he's like, I'm doing
Back up.
financial planning and I'm stock picking and all this crazy stuff while I'm going through school.
Yeah.
So this is also 2006. So we hadn't had stock market crash yet. Everyone was like, cool, you go to school, you get a degree, you get a job. So I was like, well, I can learn a bunch of stuff and eventually I'll come out with this degree. And I do like broadcast, so therefore I would work in broadcast.
Got it.
So I was also diagnosed with ADHD.
Of course.
And so because of that, right.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that was a problem until they did that because I just thought, oh, I can focus on a bunch of stuff. So for broadcast, for me, my sweet spot is directing cameras, especially multi-camera shoots because you have this entire thing here and you have to be on to pull
man.
everything.
Look, I never thought to find the industries in which the
That-
ADHD is actually an asset.
Right. And going back
pretty
to
awesome.
what I would like,
I don't even know what the word really, I mean, I get it, but I don't know what it really means.
like what it is to be with
Yeah,
it.
I mean, what does it mean? You're ADHD because you can't sit in the classroom?
So some people diagnose it like that, but a lot of it comes to just like fragmented focus. So for me in my head, the way I
But who
describe it,
defined that as a problem? I guess that's what I'm saying. Why is it a problem?
people that can't keep up. So it's, in my head, there's 32 channels on basically all the time. And there's something that's happening, whether I'm thinking about yesterday's problem or what I'm going to do tomorrow or what we're going to do lunch or like when I'm driving, like time to distance.
So
or
would
something
you
like
say, do you think if you would be trained in the physical art of doing a heart transplant, you could do it? Or would you say, no, man, I can't do something like that. It's too intricate,
No, I
too
would-
focused for too long. It's going to wait.
No. I would say it's actually, yeah, because
So what would you consider bad professions for ADHD individuals?
something that only has a single input. Rote work is really terrible for ADHD individuals because unless you have a bunch of other sensory input, you tend to just narcoleptically fall asleep. One of the things that ends up happening there is you have to track a bunch of stuff. So did that, and then in high school you can opt into ROTC. So I opted into ROTC, and they kind of do like the feeler introduction to see like where you might be placed if you come out. And so the two things I scored highest in were Spec 4 and piloting. So I got trained on everything that you could possibly fly, and they throw you into an F-16 simulator, and you got everything in the world going on, and that like was heaven for me. And so that's how directing a broadcast feels.
Right, I get it.
And like, so when I got into broadcast, I was like, okay, I know there's one thing I can do because it's very similar to this thing over here that I already do, and it's great. Also, my favorite games are 4x4 turn-based strategy or just like real-time strategy because it's management. That's all you're doing.
So what is that called? Age of Empires. What replaced Age of Empires?
So there was Rise of Nations, and then of course there was the Civ when they released Civ 5 and 6. Like, I mean, I still play 5 like for days on end.
Civ?
Yeah, Civilization. Sid Meier's Civilization group.
I don't know if I know that one.
He did in the 90s. He did Alpha Centauri, and then there was a bunch of stuff that got introduced in the 90s. I mean, they were doing like turn-based hexagon. My brother he's a sound engineer and audio producer now, but like he would terrorize the house by taking everything apart to see how it worked.
Yeah.
Never could put it back together, but he would take it apart to see how it works.
Yeah.
And now when he puts together sound, it's the same thing. For him, he's dissecting everything and then recombining it.
Right.
Yeah.
So cool.
So really crazy, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, Misfits are probably going to be the first, like,
Already then.
that's the easiest one. And then any kid that doesn't like, it's an interesting way of putting it. I mean, there's still some kids that do like shooters, but like kids that like the non-fun games, like
Yeah.
the hard ones, those are usually the ones that probably be best for coding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like Call of Duty is really simple once you understand most of it. It's just a reaction game. It has almost nothing to do with like forethought.
Did you say?
I said, had I been able to focus on one thing, I would have been doing what Robert's doing. because that's where I have most of my formal training.
That's true.
Yeah, the recession was good for figuring out how much of like broadcast production and just creative arts that I actually liked, and I like it enough, but there's not a lot of work outside of churches for what I do best.
You know what I'm interested though is that how you didn't take this algorithm thing that you like doing and creating an algorithm for stock picking and create an algorithm for stock trading ultimately, or computer.
See, I got to that way later, and it was after I'd already got interested in other stuff.
Because that would have seen the natural progression, right? It's like, well, I'll just develop.
Right.
I take this, what these guys are doing for Bitcoin, I'll do it for my stock picking, and then you start,
right?
You know.
So
that's a really crazy thing to get into too, because that is so advanced right now.
Right, and there are a lot of people, and well, because you have to understand the science behind the rule that you're going to program into.
All that, stock. But even the location and distance from the hubs, and all of this crazy stuff is a big deal because they're trying to get microseconds and
right,
you know, to beat the other guy.
And also, what makes it more difficult in the crypto space is that all the current markets have start and stop times. There are no start and stop times in crypto. It's 24/7 all the time. So there are certain, depending on whose buying power, which currency is dominant at any given point, will determine which market swings you might look at based on the time that country wakes up. So for a good example, the first run up that Bitcoin had this year, when it was doing it was like between $1,100 and $1,300, every 1 o'clock in the morning, basically. As soon as 1 o'clock hit, you would see this big red candle that would show up because people were just selling off whatever the gains were from their last 24-hour period. And that's because China put restrictions on all their traders. You couldn't do zero fee trading. You had to charge something. And so Britain was like, oh, by the way, we have zero free trading. So all the buying power and trading shifted from China over to Britain. So at 7 o'clock in the morning in Britain, which is 1 o'clock here, everyone wakes up and they're like, cool, I made $50 yesterday, sell. And that all happens simultaneously because everyone's bot's programmed for that time frame.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So I don't know how we got off the tangent of, you were telling me, go to Coinbase, set up an account and buy. Mm-hmm. And then
But then you want to hold. Like, if you're going to buy, you're thinking about buying to hold it for the next 18 months.
You telling me this, or you're asking me this?
No, I'm telling you.
Okay.
That's what you should do.
Yeah, okay.
Because otherwise...
Yeah, I don't want to day trade this shit.
Yeah. Most people get into it because they want to day trade.
I don't know if you've noticed there's no Lambo outside, because I don't know how to day trade. If I knew how to day trade, if I knew that I didn't know about day trade, I may have a Lambo outside. Let's just...
I understood, yes. So a lot of
just spare money, apparently.
A lot of people, funny enough, most people think that they're expensive.
What is?
Lambos. It depends on which one.
Yeah, as I was going to say, it can be.
It can be expensive, but most of the time you see a Gallardo outside, you're like, oh, cool. Well, you should know that's a $120,000 car. It's not like, oh my God, that's a $2 million car.
Right. They're not.
Yeah.
And you can buy some used ones for 90 or 80 and stuff like that. Yeah, sure.
You can get an Aston Martin for $38,000. Mm-hmm. Like, people don't know that. And so every time I see someone drive by in a Maserati, I wish I could throw a rock at that person. Because that is a very, very, very nice Ford.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But the Maserati isn't the exterior design by Pininfarina? The guys that designed for Ferrari?
The exterior design, not the inside.
I didn't know the inside part.
Yeah. It's just, Jag, it's like all in that same lineup. That's why they look so similar. And also, Maseratis do not do anything for you visually.
No, I don't like those cars.
They're just real standard sedans.
I don't like those cars.
Yeah.
I like the Aston Martins.
Right.
I like the Rolls Royce.
Oh, Pagani. I want a Huayra.
Yes. That one's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Love the Ferraris.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, there's some very exotic, like very one-offs. I don't even know about them. I mean, I've just seen them in a magazine.
Right. Cars and watches. Those are my two personal obsessions.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. So yes, you said go through Coinbase or
go through Coinbase. Get that set up because there's. It's like
I'm literally just gonna follow directions. I'm not gonna learn about this shit right now.
Yeah. So this is like just to get in the game. It's like if you're taking the red pill or blue pill, but you got to go like like you got to keep opening doors to get farther down, as opposed to just falling straight down the rabbit hole. So
Yes, exactly.
yeah,
Thank you.
the first thing to do is just like do and hold, because then as you learn more about it, you'll learn at what you can do with it, and then you'll migrate off of Coinbase, because Coinbase just functions as a gateway.
Yeah, so what's the risk of, I've heard that there was another exchange that got hacked recently, or
That was
something happened.
Bitfinex.
Huh?
Yeah, Bitfinex.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And they're being really weird about it because they haven't told, or at least at the time I read the article, that they didn't tell anybody.
Right.
They stopped doing exchanges. So why Coinbase rather than storing the number on your own computer or storing it?
So
And you said you were going to show me something on your phone.
you do want to do that. Did it come up? Yeah. Let's let it
Really
resync.
crazy.
So Coinbase is basically, they consider these hot wallets, and the reason is because they're in the cloud. And Coinbase actually has, let me take a step back. Do you understand anything about PGP key encryption? Like end-to-end encryption. Okay.
Let's say I don't, because I don't want to act like I do here.
So end-to-end encryption,
Nikki, fuck you. She's fucking laughing. You see her, like she's doing right now? The last 10 minutes have been nothing but that. She keeps on falling over, putting her forehead on the table because she's laughing so hard.
So end-to-end encryption
Ridiculous.
is built into like iMessage
Right.
and WhatsApp and Signal, all those things. But basically, it sets up a key pair
Right.
on your phone, sends it back and forth. Only we can access it. That's the basic technology that powers all crypto transactions, anything crypto. So Coinbase owns the keys to the account they're letting you use.
Okay.
So if they get hacked, all someone has to do is hack them, and then they get to take all the money. And because they're in the United States, they're responsible for making sure that you get that value back. It's like kind of the only semi-insurance policy you get. So what I was going to show you was, currently my phone holds 0.01 Ethereum, and I usually keep this just as a tracker. So it's at 90.
And what is that, Jack?
Jax. It's a
That's
mobile
the app?
wallet. It's one of them, but it's a mobile wallet.
Mobile wallet. Okay, keep on going. So what does that do?
So I have 0.1 Ethereum in it because it lets me track the market. So it's $95 right now.
I see that now. Yeah, it's funny, you were talking about 92 in this
That
conversation.
was a couple hours ago.
Okay, cool. Jesus
There's a run happening. So that's currently how I track it, right? If I destroy that phone, that's it.
What do you mean? If you destroy that phone, you also lose that 0.1?
Yes.
And what if I took your phone from you? Hold on a second. Hey, dear.
Hey, sorry, I was right next to you, so I just sleeping.
That's okay. Did you get the message passed about North School?
Yeah, I'm on my way there right now.
Okay, cool. I'm in a meeting. I'm learning about Bitcoins and Ethereum, and we may be homeless after I make some bad decisions. I'm just joking. She's like, what?
And it's Steven's fault.
All right, dear.
So sorry for that.
I don't know, what does that mean?
You don't know about Spoon Man?
Who's Spoon Man?
Oh my god.
What is Spoon Man about?
I'm pretty sure he's been like this the whole time, so she didn't get him in.
Oh, yeah.
Danger.
Of not Spoon Man.
Yeah, my girlfriend, like I was.
Oh, yeah,
first
yeah.
met, and she was like, "Okay, this
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
crazy, but
sure.
whatever." You
Yeah, yeah,
buy a
yeah.
coffee shop,
Got you,
do
got you.
Bitcoin, Ethereum.
Very
She's
sad.
a freelance marketer,
Very sad day for me. Bye.
which I convinced her to get into. So I'm glad that's working out.
Yes. Or might become your problem.
Yeah, yeah.
What was she doing before that?
So she went to school for a marketing degree and then went into the job trap and basically was out of work for like a year and a half. And
Hey, Bess. This comment from Todd is just ridiculous.
yeah, she was basically out of work.
And you're
for about a
saying
year and a
that, so
half.
can you
And then,
imagine? Okay, so
a
anyways.
friend of hers dad was like, "Oh, we need a marketing person," so they hired her. Worst office experience ever. And so she was like, "I hate this, and I'm not making money. How do I my degree's useless?" And like she was having existential crisis.
Everybody says their degree is useless.
And I was like, "Well, try
everybody does.
freelancing because you see me be in the startup community for 2 years. You should go and see if you can find something. Because worst case scenario, you're going to make just as much money as you did before." My whole reason for that was my first job out of college that I didn't freelance for was UPS.
Okay.
And so, like, I worked there for 3 years and when I left, I was a tech trainer, making 80 grand a year at 23.
Good job.
And I hated my life. You spend 18 hours on the road anytime, you're gonna just hate your life. And so I was like, worst case scenario, I leave this and I have to come back to UPS. but I should go try something now because, before doing that, I did my research, talked to everybody that had been there 10 plus years that was making $150K. Most drivers make about $110,000, $150,000. And they were like, I hate my life, but I have kids, I've got a mortgage, and this is a great paying job with an amazing match program and
Right.
good benefits. Why would I leave? I'm just going to hate my life for 10 more years and then retire. I was like, I would try to kill myself, so therefore let me get out before that happens.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah. So 6 years ago now, I left. I've never looked back.
Well, I don't blame you. So that means you're 29 year?
Yeah, be 30 this year.
He's accomplished so much more than you have in this.
Usually people say that the other way around. Yeah.
See, I want to teach you something about the relationship with Miss and I. This is the strongest defense is a very strong offense type of thing going on here. So if I'm not a constant attack, she's attacking me, right?
So you keep.
There's a moment of weakness, you know?
You know what? The Grove had no coffee, so I have not been on my A game, and I can't. Not only can I not defend myself, I can't be the aggressor today. It's difficult.
Are they still buying Cultivar?
Does it matter if they're not brewing it? I don't know.
Oh, that doesn't matter. You're right.
Either way. But anyways, that's, so I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to defend myself.
Right.
She's down right now, and I'm really like pushing her off. Like,
right. Because this is the
like
only
Leo
advantage,
at the end of the Titanic. Like, it'll be fine.
Because tomorrow
Just
she'll
go.
come back rejuvenated
Just
and be
let her
like,
go.
yeah, it's good.
Oh, on her game, right? Brutal stuff, right?
Yeah.
It'll show up at about 11 p.m. tonight where she gets her like third win and just
Yeah.
assaults me on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. It's just brutal. Anyways, so go to Coinbase, open an account, put money in, buy Bitcoin.
Buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin and Ethereum if you feel like risking a little bit more.
And then what? So then I buy it, it's in my account. Then do what?
Just hold it.
Just leave it in Coinbase.
Keep learning about it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
don't bring it down to the phone or anything like
Yeah,
that.
just leave it in Coinbase account.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because that's put pocket change in, and the reason for that is because I usually don't tell people don't go big until you have a massively compelling reason for why you want to. And most people, it usually has to do with I've learned enough about the technology. I do think that this is going to be the next version of the internet as we know it. And so me getting in on this right now is like finding Google when they just
Well, it's
first got
speculation. That's what you're saying. All said and done.
Because the real defined use cases have not, the basic place we're at now is like when Napster first launched and people were doing intranets everywhere. No one uses an intranet now. But at that point, you could clean up building intranets for people. Now it's obsolete technology. And so they haven't even got to intranet stage yet. So that's also the reason why I'm in it. And why learning some of those lessons now is not as detrimental as it will be in 10, 15 years.
So you're saying there's a chance from the what's the word? Speculation perspective, there's a chance there won't be any Bitcoin?
No. From the speculation perspective, there is a good chance that Bitcoin will be around for the next 20 years.
Okay.
In some form or fashion,
Okay.
whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or another one. And when I say I don't mean that those will ever go away. It's just that they won't be as valuable or as hot as they are now. Because Facebook is way more useful than, what's the oldest social network? So I think like Zanga or Friendster or something is still accessible. And you're just like, what the hell? Why would anyone be on there? Same thing. Or Google's Blogger or something like that. Yeah. The good thing about it is they can't just be wiped off the face of the planet. So like when Zanga shut down, if 5 people wanted to maintain Zanga, they could have done it just by keeping it on their computer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Got it. So buy Coinbase, go to Coinbase, set up an account, buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, hold it.
Yep. And this is familiarization right now because give it about 3 more years and there's going to be people that are going to be trying to spew Bitcoin-based businesses all over the place.
What does that mean?
It's just something that has to do with Bitcoin and the blockchain. They're already starting it now, but just remember how food delivery 2 years ago, every person in the world thought they could make one? We're going to hit that with crypto, and it's once mass adoption kind of kicks in and everyone looks at it as being legitimate and the government recognizes everything, people come out the woodwork saying they
See,
have
that's
a
the
new thing.
one thing that I wonder about, and I see as things
As
that
a risk.
a risk is the U.S. government or some government saying, no, I can't control this at all, and this is big, this is huge. It's illegal to hold it. I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to tax it. I don't know, whatever it may be, right?
Right.
So what is any of those things going on right now?
So there's two schools of thought about it. One school of thought comes out of your crypto anarchists, those kind of guys. They're like, well, they can't control it because it's code and we can do whatever we want. And they have to catch us first. There's the other side of the people that kind of look at the internet and how people try to control it initially and say technological progress will keep on marching on because it provides use cases for the 1%. And when you provide a use case for the 1%, it's very hard to make a government shut it down because they'll just rewrite the government to fix it. And that's currently what is going on because, see, we're at 2017, go back 2.5 years before people really kind of understood like Bitcoin and Ethereum and they had like seen its use case. They were really worried about the stock market. People were very worried about the stock market. Now you have people saying, well, worst case scenario, put in gold and Bitcoin and I'll be good.